This is the MRT Audio Breath Controller. It's an interface that connects between a pressure sensing breath unit and your keyboard through MIDI to convert that changes in breath to signals that go to your keyboard. It has a USB power connector on one end. It has a MIDI connector on the other end and a connector for either the MRT Breath Controller headset or the old Yamaha BC3 Breath Controller headset. On the device we have controls for gain, how hard or how soft you have to puff in order to make a change, and the offset. If you put it really high, you'll hear a tone out of your keyboard without any puffing. If you put it lower, you have to begin to puff before you hear any sound. Now the controlling device is the headset. And here's the headset. This is the mouthpiece right here. This connects to this unit right here that has a pressure sensing integrated circuit inside of it. That integrated circuit has a little tube that comes out. When you blow into here, the air goes into that tube and senses the amount of pressure and then sends that signal out through this wire to this mini jack, which you then connect in here. The signals that come out you can see visually through this LED, and then we take one end of the USB cable and we plug it here, and you can plug this other end into the USB connector on your keyboard, or you could plug it into a USB wall wart or something of that nature. Finally, the MIDI cable connects to the MIDI out, and the other end goes to the MIDI in on your keyboard. Now I'm going to use the MRT Breath Controller with my Yamaha MOXF6. Now I have my MOXF6 customized for me, but I have the original factory settings on this, and I'm going to connect this. I'm going to connect this to the USB in. I'm going to go to File and Load F6 Factory. Now after a minute or so, the loading is complete and I can exit. Now I'm going to take that USB thumb drive out. I'm going to replace that USB thumb drive with USB connector on this cable. And then I'm going to take the other end of the MIDI cable and I'm going to connect it to the MIDI in on the keyboard. Now I'm not going to do anything as far as control settings or anything of that nature. I'm just going to take the MRT, put it there. I'm going to take the headset, and if you notice the orientation here, I'm going to put this side over my left ear, this side over my right ear, and put this into my mouth. Now let's watch the LED when I blow. As you can see, the LED comes on as I blow, and when I stop it turns off. So let's see if we can get some sound out of this. So I'm going to go to Voice and do a category search, and I'm going to look for some brass, and a setting that I use a lot is called Lots of Brass. So let's see if I can find that. Lots of brass, and there it is. Now for some reason I seem to have to blow first just to set it up, so I'll do that. And you notice now when I press on the key, nothing comes out. I'm going to hold the key down and blow. And the maximum volume is obtained when I press hardest on the key. If I press easy and blow hard, it's still going to be low. from the Blues Brothers Soul Man. So I really didn't have to do anything to set this up. I'm going to go to the strings and see what it sounds like with some strings. Of course, you can only use this on voices and patches and performances that do not have a normal decaying sound. Like a piano, you can't use it on a piano very effectively, or a guitar. You can use it on strings, you can use it on horns, and things of that nature. So let me get a string. As you can tell, I'm not the best woodwind player. I don't have the best breath control, but it certainly does work very well. There are a few things I've learned that I think might help you. And they have to do with the breath control headset itself. As I said, there's that pressure transducer inside here. And this mouthpiece section connects in. Anywhere where you get a buildup of saliva or you don't have a good connection, you're going to lose some of that pressure, and that's going to be reflected in the signal that comes out of here. So you have to make sure you have a very nice tight connection here. And then also on the back of this there's a little spit valve, and you can keep that totally closed. I'm not sure if you can see that on this, but the spit valve is here, and as a matter of fact it opens up, and you can see that I can, there's a little like a tray here, and I can close this, and there's a little hole here, so as I rotate it, it allows me to create a small opening or a large opening, and that controls the amount of breath that goes down here. So again, I want to make sure I get the saliva to come out as I'm doing that. I want to make sure this is very tight so that I get the maximum transfer of pressure from my mouth to the sensor. And I also want to make sure that I select voices on the keyboard that are appropriate for the breath control. So no piano, no guitar, something that has essentially a long or infinite sustain. That's what you're looking for. And if you're like me and you're a keyboard player and a guitar player and you're not a brass or woodwind player, you have to practice on how to use this thing. It's only as good as your technique. So take some time, get to know it, and you'll certainly be rewarded. I've looked at a lot of devices on the internet, and the MRT is the one that I found is the most complete and the simplest to use. One thing I did notice, and I want to show you this, you can program this device. Now it comes already programmed. You really don't have to do a thing. The control codes 1, 2, or 7 and the MIDI output channels can be changed. Now for me it doesn't make a difference because I'm more of a novice at this, but for those of you who are more adept at this, you might want to do that. The programming procedure that was provided with the device told you everything you had to do, but it took a bit of interpretation. I've recreated that programming procedure, and I have it as a PDF if you're interested in getting it. This would probably be especially important for English language speaking people. This will be a little more clear to you as you go through the process. So that's the information on the MRT Audio Breath Controller. If you have any questions, any comments, you can always email me at brodefinjr@optimum.net, and I'll be happy to answer any email I get through that forum. If you want the PDF of the programming instructions, the same. Just let me know through brodefinjr@optimum.net, and I will send you a PDF file with those instructions.